when everything shut down, kind of like realizing that we had to be all over these platforms to maintain our sanity and our relationships. I think it's constantly adapting and just keeping in mind that our fans are really important to us. Our friends are really, really important to what we're doing.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Cory and Meg from Casket Robbery. How are you guys doing today?
Doing awesome,
Doing
man.
great.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
I am great. We are chatting on Halloween weekend 2022, the best time of the year, the best holiday ever, the only holiday that matters as far as I'm concerned. New Year's, yawn. Halloween is the best, and the only thing better than Halloween is death metal. So we're here to celebrate together, not just this season, but your brand new album, the long anticipated and awaited Rituals of Death.
Yeah, finally, we got it out.
You know, we say finally, and everything feels like a finally at this time in the world, right? But I think it's interesting. You guys have really plotted a very, purposeful course the last few years. Singles, very, to me, very clever and very smart, because like a lot of bands hit me up and they're like, my record's out already. Can you help me? And it's like, I want to, but I don't have time. Time is the one resource I can't make more of. I just have what I have. So I appreciate that you guys were very thoughtful. I don't think the surprise drop works for bands unless you're really huge. And even then, it has failed spectacularly for huge bands that tried it. So I still think, even though I think I love my publicists out there in the metal world and the music world, I think some publicity in music is a little old-fashioned still, but the release schedule is not out of date. It matters. So I want to first applaud you for your careful and good consideration for all of us churnos, putting out a few singles, building it up nice and slow, announcing the record, putting it out at a busy time of the year, but still a time of the year where we can get you guys covered.
Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the timing, we wanted it out a little bit earlier this year, but it just wound up we didn't have quite everything in place, and then it kept getting pushed back, and we finally got it set. So I think it's the latest possible we could get an album out this year, but we wanted to make sure it came out this year because people are waiting for it.
And it's hard. It's not just the vinyl delays and the lack of pressing plants in the world. There's also shipping times. There's also just in general supply chain issues. There's just everybody is backed up from the last couple of years. So that's the same thing you're seeing with tours. You're seeing it with physical product, shirts, maybe even some companies hard to get fulfillment. If you want to work with who you want to work with, you have to wait, especially for DIY bands. It's just hard. What role has Blood Blast played? Because that's pretty cool that you guys got hooked up after many years of working on this band. I know, it doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, but it's inherently cool to be aligned with Blood Blast.
Yeah, it's been great. We're working with Bryce at Blood Blast, and it's a lot of we can go to him with questions, which I like. I like having a team around us because we work hard, but a lot of times it's like there might be a better approach to something. So we can go to Blood Blast and be like, how long should we space out these singles or whatever? And he's been great about that, like just kind of helping us plan this like the most effective way possible. I mean, they put out so many releases, so they kind of know what's up, and that's been killer. Also, like they're really heavy on the streaming stuff, and we've for years been I feel like we've been on the forefront of that. Even when we first started talking about Spotify, a lot of people just kind of ignored it and looked at us like, what are you talking about? And we're still trying to push for that Spotify thing and try to like embrace that as a death metal band, which I think is still, the death metal is pretty far behind that curve. I believe a little bit, at least. So yeah, that's been a huge thing, is just like the streaming part of it.
We live in kind of a plug and play world, a certain generation of people. I'm going to sound like a grandpa, get off my lawn. But like we live in a generation where I think technology comes at us so fast that we really don't it's hard to appreciate it in the moment. Like, Spotify, Who knew that the guy who was like the lead programmer at the Pirate Bay and BitTorrent was going to make a platform that was not going to pay people? But it's not about that. I really consider Spotify an awareness engine, and the rest of the responsibility of getting paid is on the artist as much as it is anything else. So whether you have a label or a distro or just a really cool team around you, I know a lot of DIY bands with pro management, and then they get, now you can get, DistroKid, and the Orchard is literally giving, I wouldn't say giving it away, but working with enough bands and small micro labels that there's a lot of opportunities to get your product on streaming before. I think the pre-save is still very important, but our audience, underground metal, is not really, we haven't been trained for it. Whereas pop acts and rappers are like, oh yeah, here's my pre-save, hit it. I still see a lot of artists on SoundCloud, and I know they pay. I'm not sure still that SoundCloud is so viable, but it just seems like people love it so fiercely and they will not give it up. And me, I'm, as a fan and in my work, I love Bandcamp. I still feel like nobody's perfect. And nobody has the platform themselves to platform themselves, for lack of a better word. So, I'm still a Bandcamp fan also. But the streaming is super important, and it's important for everybody. And playlisting is hard. It's hard to get on, and it's hard to get the attention of who are the influencers. I'm not even sure, and I'm in journalism, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. I'm glad you brought up Bandcamp, because that is probably the best platform for independent musicians. Like, very, very well set up, and that's becoming one of my favorite platforms for sure.
And you guys, like, when you go to reach for music to listen to that's not yours, what do you go to?
For the longest time, I think really we are still so dead set that we want and look for the physical CD copies of things. Like, we're still very much CD people, and I want to grab that and do all that. But I have found myself within the last few years, just for the wide accessibility of all the music there, I use Spotify a lot. I use streaming platforms a lot, just because it's kind of brought me new bands I had never even heard of, where it'll suggest, and you get into this wormhole on there of all these different bands. And I really liked it for that. But I'm also very, very much into collecting physical copies of albums.
Yeah.
And I think we're so used to, like, our generation too, is like, we've gone through the tapes, the CDs, now streaming, and then you have like VHS and DVDs and Blu-rays. Like, we're used to kind of just adapting to whatever is prevalent. I'm really loving the accessibility right now of streaming platforms.
Not only did I never think vinyl was going to come back, I definitely did not think cassettes were going to come back.
Yeah.
They are a terrible... I love my history with cassettes. Obviously, it's the tapes. We all used to tape off the radio. I used to carry around like a cassette sleeve with me and my Walkman before Discmans were a thing.
Yes.
But cassettes also are like a disastrous format. Like, the sound quality and they don't last long. Even if you have an immaculate player, they're going to get... one of them's going to get eaten statistically. I forgot who it was that just put out an 8-track. Might have been Ghost put out an 8-track for their last couple of releases. I was like, who in the fuck has an 8-track? It's 2022. And then, this is not a plug for our affiliate partner, but I will shout out Liquid Death has a horror movie they made last year that they just re-put out again on VHS, which is cool. It sounds like something I would want to collect. But I don't have a VHS player to play this VHS.
Right,
we have a whole...
That's all VHS takes.
Oh, sick. I know that, like, one of the things you guys do, first of all, you guys have built an amazing fan community, and I like that you diversified that fan community. I tell people all the time, look, I work in social media and digital marketing, and Cory and I met in sort of my guys, not just in journalism, but in music marketing. But also, like, we don't own these networks. It's the same thing with Spotify. Like, it could disappear. It won't, but it could disappear someday.
Yep.
So imagine if you have 100 million streams on Spotify and it's just gone one day.
Yep.
None of these things, we don't own them. And so I always, like, you have to build your community. You need to have an email list, and you really need to have a website. If you don't have those things, I know they're expensive and they take, like a garden, you have to grow them. Yeah. But you don't own anything else. You can't own, and your music, you can't own anything else. And some bands don't even own their music. But you guys have built a really, I want to shout out your Patreon, your Facebook group, your private chat on your Facebook group. You have a Discord. These things take work to be a part of and to administer. So how do you manage the time management of that between you guys and maybe anybody else? I mean, like, you guys are the face of the band. There are 3 other members of the band who rule, by the way, also shout out to them. But it's like, I feel like you're the public face. The 2 of you are the public face of Casket Robbery.
Yeah, we kind of manage all of that stuff. Not that the others are involved in it, but it is quite a task to run all of the different groups.
Which we're still kind of working out kind of constantly. Definitely not perfect.
We have to give a shout out to, we have moderators. Mike and MJ, and that's very helpful. Just like, there are a lot of fans out there that want to get involved with bands, so if you're a band out there and you're looking for some help, just find a fan that's like really into what you're doing. And we have some great help with that, but yeah, it is quite a task to manage all of them.
I think we kind of just do the best we can. And I think the thing that we really pride ourselves on is our relationship with our fans, and that it has really become a relationship. We've really cultivated all of these people and staying in touch, and with the amount of touring that we were like ramping up doing pre-COVID, meeting all of these people and then just like slowly gaining even more and more traction and adding them to our little groups and making it kind of a safe space for everyone to share music, to share our love of horror, to share really anything. Really saved us during COVID too. And then with all of these platforms kind of popping up, you have to adapt. You kind of are not really forced into it, but you kind of are. You want to make sure you're accessible and that we stay on top of things. So managing our time that way, has been interesting the past few years throughout all of this. And then through COVID, when everything shut down, kind of like realizing that we had to be on like content and internet and be all over these platforms to maintain our sanity and our relationships. I think it's constantly adapting and just keeping in mind that our fans are really important to us. Our friends are really, really important to what we're doing.
Word. We were talking offline before this about Jamie Josta and the return of Milwaukee Metal Fest, and he's the person I cite constantly about that. Like, you have to make new fans every year. Every 2 to 3 years, you have to reinvigorate your fan base, or it's going to disappear. But you also have to honor your existing fans that are diehards and give them some acknowledgement and give them some reason to stay following you, not just because they love the music, and that's appreciated. I also think it's kind of interesting, like online moderators for like Discord or your groups are now your new street team. In a way, a virtual street team. So it's kind of funny. I remember like joining up for street teams and handing out flyers at shows and handing out my own flyers at shows. I'm sure you guys have many times. I still think flyers are awesome and they not just in events online thing. I think actually that was like a super spectacular fail. It was supposed to be like a standalone events app from Facebook, and they never quite perfected it.
No.
It was a shame. Could have been a huge boon to bands and music industry people, right? Would have been smart. But no, they keep taking it. They took it away from us. Just so much to unpack. This record is so good, and I just feel like it's like the fulfillment of the promise the band has been making to fans for years, actually. Like, this is such a really great record. And I know the influences of the band from the long association I have following it, but it's super cool to see you kind of come into your own slowly and over time. But this record is, it's a banger all the way through. No filler at all killer.
Thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, we put a lot of work into this one. For sure. Yeah, to make sure it was right.
Let's dispense with some of the other stuff, the minutiae, a little bit, and talk about the record itself. I thought it would be fun for us to do a track by track anything you guys want to share. It doesn't have to be super deep. I know some bands, it's hard for them to, I don't want to say too much. I interviewed a really fun black metal band, and they were like, we're like, yeah, we're not those other bands. We'll talk all about our songs. We'll talk about every lyric. We're not trying to be mysterious. We want you to like our band and understand what we want you to know. And I was like, that is unbelievable, because I've also interviewed like huge bands who were like, I don't answer to my slave name, and like, you have to call me Ravenous. Okay, cool. You know, and I've interviewed like Watain on the tour bus, and he was like completely mirthless, never smiled, and is like, I 100% believe everything I'm talking about, and if you don't, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, whoa, word. Okay, Eric, shout out to you wherever you are in the world. Eric, I know you're not watching these. That was interesting. Yeah, the record's coming out really around the corner here, November 11th from Blood Blast. But let's go through the track by track a little bit. And like I said, you guys can free associate whatever you like to. So the opening track is the incredibly badass and recently debuted lyric video on ghostcultmag.com, Worm Food.
Yes.
Yes. That video is so gross.
Yeah.
It's really gross.
Well, okay, so here's a little thing about the video. We originally were going to just do like a still frame of the album cover and kind of just have it move a little bit, you know, just like a static image, and do that as the video. And then when we found out we were doing it with you, debuting it with you, I literally was like, all right, we gotta like do like a sick video for this. And I found Scott Rudd, I believe that's his name, to do the lyric video like last minute. He just squeaked it in, and I'm so thankful for that. Because I realized we had for some reason we had all these images of worms that the guy Shane, who did our Bone Mother video, also took these photos. He took these photos for us of these worms. We were trying to test for that was potentially going to be an album cover, and we didn't go with that. But then I found out like, oh yeah, we have all these worm photos. Like, we got to do a video. So we put that together just because we knew we were gonna debut with Ghost Cult, and we had to do something sick for you guys. So yeah, that's that. But what about what's the song about?
Songs about being buried alive, like waking up, you know, in a coffin, in a casket, realizing you're buried alive, and just the frantic like thought process going through that.
And wasn't that a thing? I don't remember what time period, but people were afraid they would get buried alive, so they had little bells or whatever.
They did, yeah.
Yes, that's the funeral bell literally comes from not just the church bells, but actually the little bells on coffins, grave sites. And then people were, grandpa passed out for a few days, I guess he's not waking back up, put him right in the ground. And then past burial rituals were like right in the ground, no wake, no long period, just put him right in the ground. And then these weren't dead. Well, I assume weren't dead. Also, like, the worm food video reminded me. Thank you for that, by the way. It was really cool for you to do that for us. You shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did. And it also, I can't think of worms without thinking about. I just saw the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And of course, the iconic scene where Michael Patrick goes to Michael goes to eat Chinese food, and it's all worms, and he's bugging out because they're playing vampire tricks on him. The next track is Don't Forget the Eyes.
And that we've been playing that one for so long. Like, that one's one of the earliest ones that we kind of put together, and
I think the first one we wrote,
it might have been the first one. And I'm an avid reader. I love books, and I love horror. And I read a book called Hex, and it was about this witch that would roam this small town, and all of these crazy things would happen. And they had like stitched up parts of her, and like her eye had removed her eyes and stitched those shut so that she couldn't be like cursing all of these people. And it was just horrifying imagery, the entire book. And it really just kind of got in my mind about this witch that was walking around and stitching her up and making sure she wasn't causing trouble everywhere.
Yeah. We had Keith from the Convalescents as a vocal feature in this. So when the chorus hits, you'll hear
he does those really great tunnely low gutturals, which I love. So
shout out to him.
Killer. Yeah, I have no notes. That's great. I love that track. Death's Dance is next.
The lyrics, I guess.
I in this album really does follow like the whole really dark, like we got pretty dark during all of COVID and everything, and it really does follow. When we were looking for a title for the album, and I'm looking at all of our songs and all the lyrics, and just the rituals of death thing really came together that way. But I've always also been fascinated with like the dance macabre and all of that. So that was kind of the inspiration for this, was just, you know, a little cemetery and undead coming to life. And you hear that with all of the pretty strings in this song, and kind of the catchy chorus and things like that. Very Evil Dead. Like in my head, it was like the girl in Evil Dead dancing around the forest, and
then she shoots off.
That was really the inspiration and kind of what I had in my head for that.
Yeah, when she said that, that's what was in my head when writing the music. So like a lot of Casket stuff is, I try very hard to make sure that I'm writing to like a vocal theme, I guess, instead of like coming up with riffs and then having her put vocals. I try to, once in a while, come up with cool riffs, but once she gets the lyric idea and sends that to me, or we record stuff, then I can like develop the song a little bit more. So that Evil Dead, I think it's Evil Dead 2, that visual of that dance, that's kind of what was in my head when we were writing this. And then I think this was one of the last tracks we wrote for the album.
Yeah.
And this one had more input from the full band too. A lot of this stuff still on this record was just kind of a lot of my riffs and ideas, but this was like Troy and Brian and getting together in a room and like writing a lot of this song. So yeah, I think that's where the music part came from.
Yeah.
Sick. And speaking of Evil Dead, another Casket Robbery fan here at Ghost Cult is our producer Omar, who I think has even seen the band live back in the day, and he just saw like the Evil Dead musical, which sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
So shout out to just Evil Dead in general, the franchise. Post-Mortem is the next track.
This one's so cool. This is one of my favorite ones.
It is, and it's kind of a depart from what like our normal, I think, kind of. I mean, it's a little bit different than what we typically do. Slower, more doomier.
I think this one started with that. There's like, you'll hear in the verse, the verse, that jun jun jun, just that real slow chuggy thing. I think that's where the song started, was that riff. I was just trying to think of on this record, we tried to on the first album we had a lot of songs around the same tempo, and then this one I was like, well, let's push some like really faster, and then let's do really slow. So this was like a really slow chuggy riff that I had in mind, and then I think it developed from there. I can't remember exactly how this one came together. We got a shout out Amy Blue. If you go to YouTube, Blue Whisper, she does ASMR of like creepy, like she'll do like autopsy videos and zombie ASMR and stuff. It's so rad. She is the voice on the intro of the song too, so she was like, we reached out to her to see if we could use this certain clip, and she said yes, and it made it very eerie.
It is. It's one of the creepiest, like just comes out of nowhere, and her sweet little voice, so calm, and what she's saying and how it opens up is just, it was perfect. When we heard it, we're like, yes, that, exactly that.
Nice. I love that part. Probably my favorite track on the whole album is Beautiful Death, and that's the next track.
Wow.
Really?
That's cool.
Wow.
That's my favorite track.
Cool.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons, but I'll let you talk about it instead of me, because again, more interesting.
I just got in my head. I'm really into like medicinal plants and things like that. So got on the topic of I really wanted to write about belladonna and poisoning someone. And it had to be like, I don't know, you hear in death metal, like, we always go after the women. So I wanted to be like, no, F that. We're gonna like kill a man in this and by poisoning, and but he deserves it. And so it kind of developed into that. And we on this one, we also have Mary Zimmer.
Yes. Guest
Um,
vocal.
yes. So that was really fun to finally get on a song with her. And I feel like our voices really complement each other with her fries and my false chord screaming. And yeah.
Yeah, it was fun to work with Mary on this. She did a lot of the higher parts because Megan's voice is a little bit lower. And that's interesting that you like this song, because we originally were gonna lead way back, when we were first getting this album together. This was gonna be like the lead
Yeah.
video track, and we actually shot a video for it, and the footage was all lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's why
That
when we
happened.
say this was a tough record to make, we shot the video for this, and all the footage just like the hard drive got corrupted and it was gone. So that video will never ever exist, but it was so cool. Some of the shots
Yeah.
we were getting, and then like from there, like things kept developing, and then we decided to go a different route with the videos and stuff. But this one has some of the, I think, the coolest guitar riffs I think on the album, and for sure the solo. This is my favorite solo that I did on the whole album. Like, just pretty tasteful, and definitely fun to play.
My heart goes out to you on the corrupted video footage thing
Yeah.
that's happened to us, and that's brutal in a real brutal way, not just musically brutal. Bone Mother is next. Speaking of videos, with a phenomenal video, probably my favorite video of the whole year, actually. Super old school, like Roots, Sepultura vibes, Tool sober. I love that video so much. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But the song is awesome too.
thank you. Yeah, this is gosh, I don't even know where to start with this video because
Yeah.
it's so much fun to make. Like, Shane from Budget Blood Productions did this video, and I have to shout him out because, man, this is all old school claymation. There's no animation to it. He literally he told us the video would take him like he worked like every single day for like over a month, like
Yeah.
just doing the photo and then moving the clay. It's all straight up like old school animation. And what was really cool about it was when we first hit him up, he kind of asked like what direction we wanted to do with the video or whatever. So all we did was just kind of like send him the lyrics and tell him kind of what the song was about, and then like he kind of came up with all of the storyline for that. And
Yeah.
like we just hit it off because he's a fan of like Evil Dead and some of that stuff. And one of the coolest moments is in the video is when the witch is killing the guy and takes off his glasses and puts them on, and she looks in the mirror and like she's just like that,
Yeah.
those little cheesy things that you would see in those old horror movies. Shane came up with that, and I like lost it when I saw that part, and we hit it off so well. So, but yeah, I don't know, what the lyrics are rad too.
Yeah, I love the stories and the folklore of Baba Yaga and her little hut and all of that, and the scariness in the woods and the eating people, or the people that would like stumble upon, and she would either help you or curse you and eat you. I think we were really, really surprised when the video was released about it, the fan base that we acquired over in like European countries, that were like, I've never heard of anyone like taking Baba Yaga, and like, this is so scary and crazy, and with the claymation video. So that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, that was rad.
So awesome. And yeah, let's have more of this. This was amazing. The Hideous, a very excellent title, is next.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun one to play on guitar too.
Yeah.
It's kind of this one. The cool story behind this one is we had the album finished, I believe, and then we knew it was going to take so long to get out, so we decided to track a single before the album which was The Hidden, the Hideous. So we released this, I don't know, a while ago with the intention that it wouldn't be on the album, just to get a single out for the people that were waiting for the album, because we knew the album was going to take a while. But then, yeah, it wound up being such a cool song that we decided to throw it on the album. So the mix on this one's like a little bit different. You might be able to pick up on it sonically a little different.
Yeah.
But it fits the flow really well. So we included it, and I don't know, the lyrics on this one are super fun.
Yeah. Just about little tiny fae, little tiny creatures that live in your house, in your walls, and underneath your house, kind of coming out every few years that they need to feed, and like corrupting someone within the house to be able to feed, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I kept getting vibes of, like, when you're a kid and you're afraid of the monster under your bed or whatever. That was kind of like this song for me.
Yeah.
Trying to come up with the music part for it.
Little tiny shadows and stuff like that.
I don't have kids, but I feel like for every parent that has ever told their kid, there's nothing under there, go to sleep, I want those monsters to come out and then eat the parents.
Yeah.
Not the kids.
Yeah.
Eat the parents. Normally I want the kids eaten too, actually, but like, yeah. But mostly the parents.
Yeah, mostly the parents. Yeah.
Yep.
The next track is Old Ones.
This one and Death's Dance, I think, were kind of written together.
Yeah.
The last two on the album. This one, I don't know. We tried to, the ending of this, we tried to go like a different, more like an industrial kind of sound, like try to put some different elements on the album. I would like to do more of that. This one kind of just touched on it briefly. But I don't know. I
did more weird things vocally on this song. I think like testing out certain things, like those weird tunnel lows I really played with and just had fun. Like, I don't know, like I had imagery of like down in the catacombs and bones and everything. And then like there being this big elaborate gate that something opened up, and these old ones like Leviathan folklore, like things like that being awakened, and that was kind of the background to this song.
Totally sick. I didn't know if you guys were fans of Lovecraft or anything related. I'm sure Reanimate is next. Also would be like similar themed.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. There's this Lovecraft vibe.
Yeah.
We're big fans of the Reanimate movie. Like Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, amazing like horror duo, I guess. But yeah, this is straight up just like based off the Reanimate, the Reanimator movie.
I think even the lyrics, like literally in the chorus, are "Cat dead, details later."
Yeah.
Which is my favorite line from the movie, and it just had to be included. So
yeah, and that always made me laugh. Is that, like, I like when we come up with like kind of lyrics like that. Like, it's just kind of cheesy. Cat dead, details later. It's
really fun to play live. We threw that in our live set on this last tour, and that one's fun.
Yeah, this one definitely, like, music wise, the main groovy riff on this one is my favorite riff on the album for sure, and it hits so hard live. It's got some cool solos. Troy did the solo on this one that really rips, and then we've got the I'm super stoked on like the 80s synth kind of thing that pops up in the choruses. I like throwing in like that vibe. That was fun to do. Yeah, I think
me too. I'm also a synthy person. I like all the dungeon synth and even just some traditional dancey stuff I listen to, and it's cool to hear it creep into new places unexpectedly, especially the chorus of that song. So I dig it lots. And finally, Return to the Sky is the final track of the album.
Yeah.
It is. It's my favorite. It's my favorite to play live. I work in death care and was reading a bunch of books about burial practices around the world, and came upon something about the Tibetan sky burial. And it like touched me so much that it was like this beautiful, I mean, very horrific to us who don't see this as something normally as part of our culture and stuff, but how incredible that was. So I had to write about it. Just I mean, and it's a pretty intense, I'll say like grotesque song as well, but it is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, this one, I'm trying to think, like, a little background on this one too is like originally we had it written and it was some of the riffs were different to the point
Yeah.
where like we thought it was like the weakest track on the album, like in the demo phases. And then I just switched out some of the riffing to be more straightforward, like fast down picking, cool guitar stuff, and got rid of the flair and just made it more basic. And it kind of like, I don't know, it just like opened this whole song up, and it like quickly became our favorite track. Went from the least favorite to the favorite just from switching a few riffs. And then this one was like the one too where we bumped up the tempo. I was like, let's do like a song, the fastest song we've ever done. And I forget what the tempos hit on this one, but it's over 200 BPM, and it's just super fun to play. And then towards the end, this is also a really cool note on the album. This is like the first album where we did a lot of alternating tempos throughout the songs so that the songs kind of flow more. Like on the first album, we just did one tempo throughout each song. This one, we're alternating tempos and trying stuff like that. And our guitar player, Troy, who's a very good engineer, he started at the end, there's this just basic galloping riff, which is pretty simple, but he would switch it every couple measures. He'd switch the tempo down and up and down and up or whatever, just to kind of like make the song like push and pull and stuff. And man, that was really hard to track. Just that simple riff was a nightmare to get right because the tempos were just like all over the place. I don't know, you probably can't really notice it if you just listen to it, but it's definitely got some cool tempo swings on it. So
I would think in general, restraint as a songwriter and a guitarist for death metal is something you have to practice, but I can also see like it's hard to do because the riff salad is calling everybody. And I'm sure just in the genre, like when you hear something cool, you do something cool. The tendency is to just double down, and so to not do that is a super interesting choice. To not do it by nature is hard.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of those moments on Casket songs specifically where it's like I'll write a cool riff, but it's like conflicting with like the vocals or the drums. So it's like, all right, let's like strip it down and make it a simpler riff. And it actually a lot of times is more effective, to be honest. At least for us, Obviously other bands are a little different, but I think our power comes from just like the simple, like old school riff.
And them grooves for days. That's my thing. But
yeah,
we got Sam Hain to celebrate, and then the record release. What else is on tap for you folks the rest of the year that you can share?
We've got a show in Chicago on December 16th, and I think it's pretty low key the rest of the year. We're just going to focus on getting this, getting the album out solidly and promoted. And then we do have some playthrough videos and things like that lined up for after the release. So there'll be a lot of cool stuff coming up then, and a lot of fun stuff on our Patreon. We do a lot of cool streams and pizza party hangouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
And all the movie watches. Let's for the wild card question, this is a no-brainer. I love to end these with a wild card question. So, you can only watch one horror movie forever. What movie is it? Each one of you.
Okay, I thought I was going to have a hard time with this, but no, I would probably pick The Thing, John Carpenter.
Would pick that. Just
because there's so many details in it, it wouldn't drive me crazy. I could like actually analyze it, which a lot of people have. I haven't gone that far and like been really crazy about digging into all the details in that movie, but that movie's really rad. That would be a good one to have to watch.
That's because you watch that like
I already watched it
like a million times.
Yeah,
constantly.
That's like my Christmas movie. I watch that like weekly.
I'm gonna change it up, and normally I would say Pumpkinhead, but I'm trying to be real with myself and something that I would watch that many times, and that being it. And it's going to be Scream.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That one's enjoyable. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah.
We already, I think we have a few that we rotate a lot. We watch Scream quite a bit.
Yeah.
Scream is awesome and is definitely, kind of made a new template for the modern
Yes.
scary movie. No pun intended there. But yeah,
what's
I didn't see the new one. I actually skipped it, but I don't know if anybody's seen it. Let me know if I should see it. But
We did go see
watch
that
it,
one. Yeah.
it's all right.
Yeah.
Like
It is
it's
all right.
not great, but enjoyable.
remakes and reboots tend to not be great. I love the Halloween that just happened, that we just saw. I loved it. I knew what movie I was going to see. I didn't have any illusions that it was going to somehow replace my favorite Halloween movies. But I was like, I enjoyed this. This was really well done. I don't know why people were so mad. Like,
People were really mad. Yeah.
You get these unreal expectations, but it's like you're not going to see a John Carpenter movie.
Right.
You know,
There's been like 3 good remakes ever, and 2 of them are I Spit on Your Grave and The Wolfman, and that's it. And maybe a couple others. The list is or reboots or a sequel. You know, how many of these sequels can we bleed out of a thing?
Yes.
I'm good if there's no Halloween movies for like a decade, and then they come back in a new way. That would be cool.
Yep.
yeah.
Let somebody else make one. A long time from now.
A long time. Yeah.
But I hope it's not a long time from now before more new music from you guys. But this one's about to drop. I'm super, again, just congratulations on everything. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. Thanks for sharing so much with us. We really appreciate it. And I know it's a mutual admiration society, but I definitely appreciate y'all and your fans for supporting us as well. Best of luck. Be safe when you get on tour. Hopefully you come out this way, out west or east or wherever, all next year. And we'll catch you somewhere in person, and we'll do this without the screens.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yes.
That would be great.